After getting ready for the day, I began my morning with the Divine Office. For anyone who doesn't know what the Divine Office is, it is the Psalms that priests and religious pray throughout the day, and lay people are invited to pray it as well, just praying those Psalms and scripture readings throughout the day. And it's something I've been trying to be more deliberate about doing during Lent. I absolutely loved praying it during my days at the monastery, and I truly see the fruits when I'm consistent with it in my daily life. And let's be real, I have a little 9-month-old, so I wasn't able to just sit at my prayer area for the whole thing. Most of it was spent pacing up and down while I prayed. Next up is breakfast. I made some banana bread yesterday so that my husband would have an easy breakfast to grab before he headed to work in the morning. So I'm just having some of that and also making myself some coffee. So, fun fact about coffee, I was never really a fan of it. I drink it, but kind of use a pastry to help choke it down. But when I was pregnant, I was strongly craving coffee. Like, I'd see someone with a mug of coffee and my mouth would literally water. So that liking for coffee has stuck with me even after pregnancy. So here we are today. I find it very amusing. I love putting butter on my banana bread, so I like throwing it in the microwave just for a few seconds just to get it all nice and heated up, and then loading it up with butter. Baby is to the age now where when she sees me eating, she wants to eat too, so I need to make sure to have a breakfast for her, so it's usually yogurt. After breakfast, I nursed the baby and got her down for a nap, and then sat down to read today's chapter from The Way of Perfection. I recently became aware of the fact that if you read a chapter a day from Ash Wednesday through the Wednesday that's the day before, Holy Thursday, you will get through the whole book. And I've never read her works cover to cover. I have enjoyed reading selections from it, excerpts, quotes, but never cover to cover. So I was just really excited to dive into really reading it this Lent, and have enjoyed so much her sense of humor, and her style of writing I've found is far less intimidating than I had anticipated. So it's been fun to just discover who she is and her personality. My daughter has been very much of a contact napper since the start, which usually I don't mind because it just helps me slow down and get rest myself and just really enjoy that time cuddling with her. But lately I've discovered that she'll take one nap a day in her swing, which has been so nice just to give me that time to sit and read and do the things that require two hands and not having to worry about chasing her around as she gets into everything. Once I get my chapter done in The Way of Perfection, I start going through the study questions with the group discussion that I started on my Instagram page for anyone else who wanted to read through this book during Lent with me, and just kind of build community discussing the chapters as we read them. So just going through and posting the questions and sharing my own thoughts on it. The next thing on my to-do list for today is some letter writing. I loved letter writing at the monastery. It was the form of communication I had with my family outside of their visits, and I just feel like letter writing is such a lost form of communication now that we're able to text and email and contact each other through social media. So I just really wanted to take this time of Lent to connect with people via letter as a form of living monastically, like I'm always striving to. So I put up an open box for Instagram followers to share their address and I've just been working on writing them letters, and it has just been so beautiful, and I absolutely love it. Once I have the 2 letters that I got written done, I head down to the mailbox with them. Baby is awake now, so I am going to get dinner started. Today I am making a creamy Alfredo soup. So easy to make, so savory and delicious. It's one of my favorite recipes. The meat used for this soup is ground Italian sausage, which I love so much. It's so savory, and I like that it gets us away from the usual ground beef or chicken. I did not grow up eating mushrooms at all. It was something that I was introduced to more during my time at the monastery, and I actually grew to love them so much that I would crave them if it had been a while since we had had them. And now I just absolutely love using them in my cooking. Mushrooms, onion, and garlic are just staples in our household. It always amazes me how much fresh spinach you can put into a dish, but once it wilts down, it turns into so little. The first time I made this soup, I did use the broken up lasagna noodles like they had suggested, but today I'm just using some regular elbow noodles because we had half a pack left to use up, and I just decided to use that. While the noodles cook, I start working on the Alfredo sauce portion of the soup. Super easy to make, just butter, and flour and milk, and then some Parmesan cheese mixed in there as well, and then that'll get added to the soup. I ended up adding more chicken broth to the soup because the elbow noodles absorbed a lot more of the broth than throwing in some lasagna noodles would have. And then once I got that added in, then I added in the Alfredo sauce. After dinner is done, I pull out my sewing machine. I had a friend who had asked me if I could fix the hem on her dress, which had fallen out, so just going to work on that as she needs her dress for a trip this weekend. Pulling out my machine just made me remember how much I love sewing. I think the last time I had it out was when I was working on our family Christmas outfits. I made a skirt for myself, a jumper for my baby, and then a bow tie for my husband so we could all match for Christmas. And it was such a fun project, and like I said, I don't think I've pulled out my machine since, so it was really fun to pull it out and get all set up to go and do some sewing. This was a pretty easy fix. As you can see that the hemline still has a clear marked line where the hem was stitched up to, so very easy fix, just pinning it in place to make sure that the fabric doesn't slide as I sew around the circular bottom. I always like to look over my work one last time just to be sure I didn't accidentally catch excess fabric or the line isn't crooked or anything, and everything looked good, so I started getting the machine and everything packed up. I can't wait until the day when I have a dedicated corner for sewing where my machine can just always be out, because it would be so much easier just to sit down and sew without having to pull it all out and put it all away. But just grateful for at least having a sewing machine now and having the beautiful case. My husband actually got it for me a few years ago for my birthday, and it has just been so nice to have a pretty little storage space for my sewing machine. The final thing on my to-do list for today is to get some pictures taken of some headbands that I have made so that I can get them listed up for sale. I made them several months ago for a local parish sale, and I've just not gotten around to getting pictures taken of them so that I can put them up for sale on my Instagram and on my Etsy page. So today I just wanted to get some pictures taken, and I'm planning on doing a sale on my Instagram story on Thursday this week. It's so much fun working with all the different colors and patterns, and also just seeing how people put together their order and different people's aesthetic and how nicely their sets often go together has been so much fun for me to see. All these headbands are like the ones that I'm wearing in my profile picture for my YouTube channel and any social media site. The brown head covering. I've also had some customers of mine use it as a covering for mass if they're not quite wanting to wear a lace veil but do want to have their head covered. They'll use this just as a wider headband option that provides a little more coverage. At the end of my day, I do evening prayer. It's been the hardest part of the divine office for me to get in because I feel like doing it before dinner, after dinner just is really hard, but I've started doing it once I'm ready for bed. I'll get into bed with baby and then I'll pray it while my husband is getting ready for bed, and it's been so nice to find that perfect slot of time where I can get it in, and then together we do night prayer to end our day.